Hi guys, and welcome to this fantastic episode of the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast featuring Rhian. And this is an episode. Okay, so I'm a bit of a perfectionist in the way I do things, and this was one that I kind of flagged. And I was kind of like, not quite right. And I pinpointed the situation I was in. Is I just done a night shift. And I definitely didn't have an anxiety attack. That's probably an overreaction, but I was definitely feeling super anxious. You know, when you invite someone round and then they come round and you're kind of like, oh, there's people coming around. For some reason, that was a problem for me on this particular evening. I managed to sort myself out, but I kind of counteracted with a lot of overconfidence in this podcast. And you can kind of hear it. I'm kind of overbearing. I kind of cut Rhian off a couple of times, and a bit a bit obnoxious, and that's not me normally. These episodes, these interviews are a bit like usually like jazz, and it was one of those that I know that. But that being said, Rhian is fantastic. She's got a wealth of knowledge, traveling knowledge, and she's looking forward to sharing that knowledge with people at a solo travel a seminar that she's holding at Highly Flammable. So if you're looking to go on travels and you're a little bit nervous and you want to learn how to get out there, survive, maybe make money, go to this. If you've got young ones that are about to go on a gap year and maybe they can learn from this, or maybe you can learn. I don't know. There's so many opportunities here for this to be a great application for you guys. So I'll put the link for the course on the readout for this podcast. So if you're listening to this and you want to take part, just go on to the readout for this podcast and click the link. And as well, I want to offer a hearty pat on the back for everybody. As this has been released, yesterday was the London Marathon. Our Verity took part as well, and Kate Vaughan, who was a guest. There's so many people we know. Well, I say so many. It's not really. There's a few heroes in Shrewsbury, Shropshire that have gone down to London and put their bodies on the line to raise money for charity with the London Marathon. If you're one of those people, congratulations on being the person that you are, because I can't run a marathon. I don't know many people that can, but our Verity is one of those people. So well done for doing what you've done. And I don't mean that in no patronizing way. I genuinely mean it in you've completed a feat that I could never do. So well done. Seriously, well done. Okay, gonna crack on with this episode. I hope you enjoy it. Rhian is fantastic, and I'll catch you at the other end. Enjoy the episode, folks. Take it away. Hey guys, welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. I'm on my own today, no Verity. Can you hear that? There's no Verity there. It's genuinely, I'm not trying to. Yeah, I'm very sorry. So my schedule keeping has not been brilliant the last week or so. I love to be busy, right? I love to be super, super busy. If you listen to the show, you know I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. But then what I do is I take on a little bit too much, and then I'm kind of like juggling, not knowing how to juggle. And so I was like, Verity, we've got a thing tomorrow. And she was like, well, I've got plans and stuff. So it's not Verity's fault. It's my fault. I'm being busy. And being busy is not good for me. But at the same time, I love it. It's weird, right? How we torture ourselves this way. Today, we're talking about travel. And I got Rhian with me. What's your surname? Because I got you as Rika Cult. Calcut. Is that your surname? Sorry, I completely butchered that. I'm so good at what I do. Did you know that?
Yeah.
And you're here today to talk about traveling. Your Instagram's amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Your pictures are fantastic, and that's what it's all about, right? Those experiences.
Yeah, it's about trying to promote those experiences to people that haven't really had an opportunity to get out there and experience it for themselves, really.
Yeah. You got to do it in an interesting way, though, haven't you? Because we've all... I've done fairly well with traveling the world, and I'm so pleased with some of the experiences we've got being married to a lady from South America is fantastic because we're just like, we'll just go to Colombia, we'll go to Cartagena. It's fantastic. I love that. But at the same time, we sit down and you go, do you want to see our holiday pictures? And then you go through 160 pictures, and by like the 30th, so kind of bored, and you can tell, even though when you were there, it was one of the most amazing experiences of your life. It's hard to transfer that over, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it really, really is. And capturing the moment in a photograph or a video,
1 or 2 photographs
is so difficult. Even if you could take a million pictures of the same thing, and essentially you're still not capturing that atmosphere or that kind of interaction with things.
Yeah.
So it is really, really difficult to do.
That's why things like Reels and TikTok are just so innovative when it comes to that, because not only are like TikTok and Reels great at sort of, I mean Snapchat as well if you want to go back there, but like they're great at grabbing you in such a short space of time, impactful and sometimes important bits of content. You know, there are things out there gone to be viral via things like TikTok and Reels that have gone to change the people's perception on things, which is mad when you think about it, right?
It is really, really kind of life-changing, I guess, because it is introducing these new exciting videos of places and these experiences. However, there's like a little uncertainty as to whether it's showing people the actual truth and showing people what it's really like. And I still think something is missing from it.
I was watching Tom Segura's podcast, Your Mother's House. Check out that podcast. Tom Segura and his wife, they did this podcast, and there's these videos of this lady, and she's in North Korea, and she's going, North Korea's amazing, it's great, it's not bad, and she's like really forced in it, and like it's really hard when you see something like that compared to the genuine videos, because I know Southeast Asia has just opened up again for the world, autumn-y, they just released the COVID thing. I learned that from my Peaks Elite Travel podcast that I recorded. Make sure you go back and listen to that. But they're asking people to go out there and do the influencer thing, because it is a beautiful place that they want the world to see.
Yeah, and some of the most underrated places in the world are some of the most beautiful. So quite often influencers will show off places that are really, really popular and tons of people go and visit each year. But quite often there are countries that you don't necessarily think of going to. And if you do a little bit of research, they're quite often better experiences. They're cheaper to visit, and less people go to them. We've always been
that, me and my wife. I like to go places where not everybody goes to. At the same time, there are places I feel like you need to see. I mean, we went to Venice. Venice is like, I remember we went to Venice and people were like, "Oh, you don't want to go there. It smells like stinks. The water's terrible. Don't go in the summer. It's horrible." We went in October. The locals were wearing big puffer jackets. We were in t-shirts. It was lovely. Honestly, it was one of the nicest trips I think I've ever been on.
Yeah.
Great time. I went to Bruges because I just like the film In Bruges.
Yeah.
In Bruges. I loved it. It's great. We had a friend who lived in Brussels, so we went and stayed with her, then caught the train to Bruges. Forgot where I was going with this now. But no, it's important to get out there and do it. I think it's the most important thing to say.
Yeah,
that before, that's where I was going, is when people go, "Oh yeah, I'm going on holiday, going to Benidorm. Every year, Benidorm, which is great, by the way. Shout out to anybody who's got businesses out there and loves Benidorm, but you got to mix it up, haven't you? Bit of culture.
Yeah, I feel like it's really important to do what you want to do, essentially. So if you are really happy going to Benidorm every single year and going to the same resort and sitting by the pool, then by all means go and do that, because if it makes you content, then why not? But I feel like so many people are holding themselves back, and it's the easy option, and they just don't want to try and visit other places or do any research. They're just quite happy just doing what they know, and will always have those dreams that they will never quite reach.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, let's hone in on you a little bit, and I want to talk about sort of like how you become a traveller, how you want to get out there and do these things. So tell us a bit about yourself. Are you Shropshire born and bred? Are you?
I am not. I'm originally Cornish.
Okay.
I'm originally from Cornwall, and then moved up to Shropshire when I was 16. So my parents relocated, and then I've just moved about a little bit for university and settled in Shrewsbury. So
have you finished university now? Have you got your qualifications and stuff?
Yeah. Long gone.
Yeah. So what did you do in university?
I studied architecture, which was not the right move for me, but I would never go back and change anything. Because
I love that philosophy.
Yeah,
I love that.
I would never go back. I wouldn't have met the people that I have. I wouldn't be on the same path I am today if I hadn't have taken that life choice.
That's really, really interesting. I love that. I love that you... Because when people go, oh, what would you go back and change? I'll be like, well, I wouldn't eat so much cake. But we are where we are because of the choices we made, and that's really important. So out of university, did you go on a gap year, or how did traveling start for you?
So I was considering a gap year before I started university, and my parents always said to me, because I was fairly academic at the time, so they always said, once you've got university out of the way, you can go on gap years, you can go on stress-free travel. However, I kind of wanted to travel from a really young age. So from the age of about 8, I was obsessed with looking at atlases and having these great big large-scale maps on my wall and planning routes. And I became obsessed with like visiting Vietnam. I really wanted to go there as my very first trip. And actually in my first year of uni, the good old student loan.
Oh, yeah.
I managed to scrimp and save, and I was meant to be booking a holiday with one of my friends, and we had no idea where we were going to go. It was somewhere fairly cheap, somewhere in Europe. And what actually happened is it got closer and closer to the time of our university break where we were meant to go away, and my friend actually dropped out. So we had no plans, and I now had no one to go with. So I asked a few other people, do you fancy going away? Everyone had already booked plans for that time now, and it was a bit late. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to get a map of Europe. I'm going to pick a random place that I don't know much about.
For a dart at a map.
Yeah. And I'm just going to book a holiday. And I booked a flight that evening. It ended up being a flight to Budapest, which at the time, obviously a lot of people have visited since, but at the time it was kind of low-key, not many people had been there, and I didn't know much about the city itself, so I thought, sure, why not? I managed to get the flights and accommodation for under £60. So I just booked a dorm, a bed in a dorm, and just quite happily flew over there.
Wow.
So that was my first experience of solo travel. I
by yourself as well?
Yeah.
And how old were you at the time?
I was 18 at the time.
So young girl going away on herself, by herself. What are your thoughts sort of going into like the airport or you landing for the first time? What's going through your mind then?
So it was all really, really new to me because my parents have never really done like holidays abroad, holidays away. So an airport was a whole new atmosphere for me.
Yeah.
So coming from Cornwall, public transport is not really a thing. So I think I'd been on one train, possibly two. The buses...
Those squiggly wiggly roads down there, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, the buses choose whether they turn up or not. And it was completely different. And I went from kind of being this almost nervous child, worried about going anywhere, worried about the simplest of things and constantly overthinking, to kind of switching my mindset and suddenly being able to fly to another country all on my own. And
you get a buzz off the independence from it?
I think I did, yeah.
I'm free, I could go where I want, speak to who I want to. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the thing. And I totally chose the right place to stay as well, because as soon as I got there, I could tell that this place was absolutely thriving and bustling with people from all around the world. And I've made friends on my very first trip that I have since been out to their countries and visited and stayed with them. And I'm still in contact with some of them today. So it was an incredible experience.
Nice. I appreciate that so much. I mean, like, I'd never gone abroad. I mean, my dad's side of the family are all in Ireland. I've got the one brother here. Everybody else is in Ireland. My sister, my brothers, and we used to go there every year. They'd put us on a plane, or we'd go on the ferry. And I never considered that going abroad. And then when I was 16, the first place I properly went abroad was Hawaii, and it was like one of the most insane things to do. It felt like for me because I'd never really gone far abroad. But seeing Hawaii and learning about cultures, it got me hooked a little bit. Like when you zoom in, you talk about Budapest. If you could zoom in like an iPad, zoom in, and look at the culture, the people around you, the family dynamics, the food, the music, it's really enticing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you get a rush out of learning about all these things, seeing all these things, smelling, all that sort of stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely. And seeing the traces of history throughout each place that you
Budapest,
go to.
Of course, yeah.
There's so much to learn. So it was just really exciting getting involved into the atmosphere of the city itself, exploring all the places and the history, trying new foods, going to events, and just essentially living a whole new life for that period of time.
Yeah. And from that moment on, were you hooked? Was that it? Like, I've got to go, because I know you said you visited friends from different countries, but like, as soon as you get back from Budapest, how quickly are you booking your next trip? Like, was it like a new thing you'd found yourself? I want to travel.
Yeah, I mean, I always knew that I wanted to travel, but I did think that first trip would be to Southeast Asia. But then once I travelled once and done a little bit of research into where I actually wanted to go, I found that there were other places that very, very quickly became the top of my list. And although I wanted to book the next trip as soon as I got back, there was an element of, right, I need to see how much more I can save, because obviously being a student, you aren't well off anyway. You're
very limited, yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I was very, very lucky that within my second year, I managed to save so much that I could actually explore a new continent, having never been outside of Europe before. It was a really, really exciting prospect.
Yeah.
Really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's when it's completely alien to you. Have you ever got like complete overconfident though, like when you're in a new place? Because I remember. Okay, right, this is going to sound really bad, but I promise you, Colombia is an amazing place to visit. But at the time, there was a spate of taxi kidnappings. Okay, it happens in a lot of places. Amsterdam is one of the worst places for things like that. It happens in most big cities. So my wife was like, if you get into a cab or anything like that, just shh, I will tell the taxi driver where you got to go, right? And within like, I don't know, 5 days, at the time, I was smoking, so I was like, I'm going to go and get some cigarettes. And so I sort of skipped to the newsagents by myself. My wife was having her hair done, and I felt so confident. My Spanish isn't very good, but I was just like, cigarettes. And they were like, cigarettes. And I pointed to them and they gave them to me, but I never felt so comfortable in a place before. And I think it's because after a few days of sort of assimilating to the culture and working out how things work, it got easier for me. Yeah.
I think that becomes a thing in certain places. So there are places that you go to that you feel an instant connection to. I was lucky that Budapest was one of those places for me, and I've gone back a few times since then. Yeah. I even looked at doing a postgraduate course over there. And since then, another country that I felt very connected to as soon as I got there was Mexico, which I did not expect to at all. And it was
just, and your Mayan pictures are wonderful, by the way. They're really good.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks. It got to the point where I learnt Spanish at school. My school didn't teach French, and I'd never been to a Spanish-speaking country, so my Spanish deteriorated after school massively. And this was the first time I'd actually been to a Spanish-speaking country, and especially on your own, you've got to learn to communicate with people. And I was really, really glad that at the end of the trip, this is a very strange thing to be proud of, but I actually got pulled over at the airport and my passport had to be checked because I was speaking to one of the security guards in Spanish. So I was like, I'm proud of the fact that they've actually questioned it, because he was like, are you Spanish? Obviously in Spanish. And I was like, no, I'm English. And then he was like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to check your passport. So I got taken off and my passport got checked by about 3 different people.
Just to see if you're not a local that's sneaking in with a dodgy, yeah.
So I was quite proud of that. I mean, saying
She's
that...
a spy, grab her.
saying that, my Spanish accent was probably completely terrible at the time, but it gave me a sense of confidence. I was like, yeah, I smashed that.
This is a really funny situation. Again, Tom Segura's Your Mother's House podcast, check it out. And there's a lady that was on that came on the podcast, and she's I think she's from like the Boston area, but she's got a Hispanic background, so she'll go to Spain back into, and there's a footage of her going, she's chatting to someone, and it's like a cooking show, this lady, and she goes, how you say in English, cucumber? And they were like, she's from Boston, why is she doing that? And Tom Segura was ripping her for weeks, like, you speak Spanish? His mom's from Peru, so Tom Segura's bilingual.
Yeah.
And he was like, so he's been ripping this woman for weeks, and then he goes to do the South American leg of his tour, his stand-up tour. So they go out there without a translator. So he's doing a lot of the translating in Spanish. And then by day 8 or 9, he's like, I'm dreaming in Spanish. I'm thinking in Spanish. And some guy comes up to him and gives him a poster and is like, can you sign this for my wife? She's at home with a kid. And he goes to write on the poster, you should have abandoned your daughter to come see me. And he forgot how to spell daughter because his mind's in Spanish. And he goes, how you spell daughter? And he immediately thought of this woman that he'd been ripping for weeks. And it happens when you get exposed to a language for so long, or a culture, or a way of thinking, your mind alters and it starts adapting to things in an almost semi-permanent way, right?
Yeah, it really, really does. It's very similar to like if you continuously write the same word over and over again, and you kind of start to question whether you can actually spell it or not, and it looks all wrong. It's that sense, but only in another language. Yeah.
I used to have a friend called Siwak, and he was Sikh lad, and he used to say to me, like, 'cause I used to wind him up because we used to have a good bit of banter, and he's like, I'd always like get the jump on him with this banter, but he's always like, I'm not that quick because everything I say, I have to translate first before I say it. And I felt terrible for him then afterwards, you know. What's a place that you've been to you didn't think you'd ever get to see? Somewhere where you traveled and you thought, I cannot believe I'm finally here, or I can't believe I got here. Is there somewhere that comes to mind when you think of that?
That's a tricky one because I think, like, I haven't been traveling to any war zones. And aside from that, I think everything is achievable. However, when I was younger, I never thought that I would visit Australia. And I wasn't that bothered about it at all. And then having been to Budapest the first time, I met a load of Aussies. And I made some friends who lived over there, and they invited me out to visit them. So I ended up visiting. And once I got there, I was like, I always thought I'd be the sort of person to never come back from Oz. I thought I would move out there. And
my cousin did that. We were like, yeah, enjoy. And then he's still there. He's married there now.
All of my friends and family always thought that I would be the sort of person to move there, to genuinely not come back. So when I went out there, I was expecting really big things. And I was like, I can't believe I'm actually here going from a place that I never wanted to visit originally. And now I'm here. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that I won't want to leave. I was very, very surprised that I didn't feel at home there. It's a place that I would...
Were you like, next? Like,
yeah, I was. I would genuinely go back and visit some of the places that I went to out there again, and I would have a great time, but I wouldn't live there.
So do you consider yourself a kind of nomad? That way? You kind of don't... You don't... I mean, UK obviously is your home, but I mean, like... You feel like you could just go anywhere and just feel the same way and keep complete traveling? Or is there somewhere you'd like to settle eventually that maybe isn't the UK?
That's always a really tough question. And I feel like you never know what the future holds. So I'd never rule it out. But at the same time, it's really nice to have that stability and to have that base.
Yeah.
And obviously setting up a career in the UK while funding my travel is a really comfortable way of doing it as well.
It's different when you switch to their currency and you're like, actually, it's not that great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you start to compare things. You compare like accommodation costs and like cost of living and all of that compared to salaries. And you're like, well, actually, it isn't that different to here. Or you look at
how much does a flu shot cost? What? Like, how much does it cost to go to the doctors? Yeah,
yeah,
healthcare.
Little things like that, and it all adds up really. So it's not something that I would ever rule out, but it's definitely not something that I need to think about right now.
Yeah. It's good that you're doing this though. It feels like you've got a real hunger for adventure.
Yeah,
and when you're thinking of travel, I've got friends over. A big shout out to Rich Carter. He's recording with me on Friday. We're going to the football. He's up from Australia, so we take him to football. He's going to come back. He's going to guest co-host with me. But I was asking probably the most stupid questions. We do have listeners in Australia, by the way. So if you're listening to this, and you're probably going to laugh at this, I was like, how far inland in Australia do the roads go? How far inland in Australia do people live? Because it's such a massive land. I imagine it's just desert right in the middle. I imagine it like a gobstopper, gets warmer the closer you go in. And he was like, well, people live as far as the roads go. And when I think of Australia, I think of the beach. But when you really think of Australia, there's probably people that live right in the middle of Australia and never seen the beach, never seen the ocean. Because it's that big a place. And it's those understandings of culture and travel that we've got to kind of get the grasp of, I guess. But yeah, what I did though today, I put a post out on Facebook and I asked people about travel because it's an interesting one when you think about the things you didn't expect.
Yeah.
But for example, when we went to Venice, I didn't think the cheapest thing we'd be eating was pizza. I think of Italy and I think of pizza, but I always think when we're here, I think Domino's, Pizza Hut is expensive, but we survived on pizza because it didn't take much money. Let's have a look. I've got a few comments here. So I threw up saying, for an interview I have in the next hour or so, I need some of your travel experience. I'd like to hear your most amazing places you visited, your scary, funny, astonishing stories. What was your dream destination? And did it live up to your expectations? Now, my mom was the first person that commented. I love my mom. She's great. She's so supportive. And my mom is a late bloomer. She started traveling in her 50s. And the first place she went to was Iceland, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
And she put, after reading My Family, The Other Animals by Gerald Durrell at school, I always wanted to go to Corfu, where the book was based. At the grand age of 55, sorry, Mum, I finally plucked up the courage to fly and went to the place of my dreams. It didn't disappoint. I loved it every bit as much as I thought I would. I would have returned twice since, but we always stay in Agios, Giorgio South, and absolutely love it. Beautiful sandy beach, lovely warm sea to swim in, and endless sunshine, gorgeous. We went to Corfu too. Corfu's great. Again, that's one of those places where you go, oh, you're going to Corfu, are you? But it's actually beautiful.
Yeah.
It's actually beautiful.
Yeah, it really is.
My friend Jenny Pierce says, I went to Whitby last year, have wanted to go since I was 12. When I read a book called The Whitby Witches, we slept in the car on the Yorkshire moors and went down to Whitby every day. It was absolutely beautiful. I will be visiting again. The place I really want to go to is Pompeii, after learning about what happened there with the volcano. Anna Reese, a good friend of mine, a big shout out to my prison family. I still work as an actor at Shrewsbury Prison. I always have to explain that. But she put, definitely visiting Alcatraz. When I mentioned about working at Shrewsbury Prison, in particular, its Georgian tunnels to one of the two ranges on the island, he took an interest and asked if I'd been down to the tunnels under Alcatraz. When I replied, I was gutted not to have been able to book that tour as it was fully booked. He looked at his watch and he said he had a spare half an hour and asked if I wanted a private tour. And off we went. I still find it incredible that he did that for me. Thanks, Ranger Steve. Well done, Ranger Steve. What a great experience. My good friend Chris Shirk. Chris Shirk has travelled to some of the most amazing, some of the abandoned Nazi camps and things he's done in Germany, some of the abandoned buildings around Shropshire he goes to. Shrewsbury From Where You're Not is one of the most amazing Instagram pages you can follow. He put, last year I went to Greece and swam out to a cruise ship that was lying capsized just off the coast. It was by far one of the most fun things I've ever done, but also one of the most daring. I love swimming, but I've never swam out to sea to climb on a shipwreck. I am a solo traveller and I've never been to Greece before. So every aspect of this trip was outside my comfort zone. I remember the pictures from that, Chris. It is phenomenal.
That incredible.
Yeah, they did some snorkeling and stuff. Some of the pictures were fantastic. So when you think of travel, Instagram is very easy to be like, look how amazing this is. Have you gone somewhere and it's gone wrong? Where you thought, oh my God, this isn't what I expected?
I'd probably say, it'd have to be my second trip. So I actually ended up going and working in Zanzibar for a month.
Again, the pictures are wonderful.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And I was working over there as a vet with no qualifications, by the way, because you can go and do that over there. And when I got over there, I thought it would all be this glamorous kind of place where lots of people go on holiday and take these amazing photographs and have these incredible experiences. However, what they don't show you is the behind the scenes and how much the African culture on the island of Zanzibar is being dissolved by them trying to kind of recreate a westernized culture. And it's really, really interesting to see that behind the scenes, but it's also quite devastating.
So are we talking about the Starbucks kind of malls and that kind of thing, like just digging up? Is that what we're talking about?
So the people who live out there don't have a lot of money. So we're not talking about actually recreating Western buildings and in that kind of thing, but they actually value a lot of Western things. So, for example, Pepsi, there are Pepsi adverts everywhere along the street. But to go alongside that, when they can afford to buy Pepsi, there is also a ban on plastic bags. So there's nowhere to actually put the rubbish, because if you have a ban on plastic bags, you can't actually collect rubbish. So there is litter all over the streets. For example, I went to one of these beautiful hotels and we had to see to a group of dogs in this Italian village. It's a very, very strange experience that was.
An Italian village in Zanzibar.
Yeah, there's a big Italian population.
But like Chinatown, but for Italy.
Yeah.
Italians, Italian, yeah.
So they've built their own villas on the beach out there.
Wow.
And they're heavily guarded by these vicious dogs the vets have to work really, really hard to make sure that they're all castrated so they're less likely to attack people. It's really crazy out there. And this was right next to this big hotel and it looked really, really fancy from the outside. But having to go and work there, you walk around the back and you see the actual runnings of it and you see how hard people genuinely work so that other people have a really good holiday. And I feel like a lot of people who visit the island don't think about what is put in place to enable them to have that excellent experience. They don't think about the consequences that has. And I feel like that was such a learning curve for me, just being out there and experiencing that and seeing what you don't expect.
Yeah. And that's one of the things with big hotels and package holidays. I mean, one of the nicest, and I genuinely like, I don't well up or anything, but I have really warm feelings about my wife's cousin Jimena. Big shout out to Jimena Rodriguez, an amazing actress out there in Colombia. She took us out to Zipaquirá, which is a salt cathedral mine in Colombia, and it's I think it was about an hour and a half. It wasn't 2 hours, but it was a drive out. And on the way back from the mines, there was this torrential rainstorm, and like South American torrential rainstorm, and you're talking rivers down the street. And we got stuck inside this bar. I mean, we only stopped for a Pepsi or something, and we were stuck inside this in this bar. And they shut the doors of the bar, and they pulled up tables, they poured us drinks. They kept the family gathered around the table. We were all chatting, getting to know each other. It was one of the nicest experiences of my life, because it's on a human level, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you talk about hotels like what you're talking about, you're getting pampered, you get this, that, and the other, you got your all-inclusive, well, I don't know what this is good. But behind the scenes, like you said, there is a human element there that's probably suffering, just to earn a few quid.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I love like the hostel visits and things like that. Obviously, I started traveling, staying in dorm rooms. And I feel like I'm kind of past that stage of my life now. So I'll only stay in a dorm of a hostel when I really need to save on money, or when I've booked a more expensive trip and things like that. However, I will still try and stay in a hostel where I can rather than a hotel, just because of the workings of it and because of the community.
Take care of your own stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really important.
Yeah. It's something that I feel like we're all I'm definitely guilty of. Like, we're going to Turkey in a couple of months, in a few months, August. Gosh, where are we in the year? It's going so quick. And it's a package holiday, but now when I think about it, I'm like, is that traveling? When you go to stay at a hotel, a big massive hotel after this, but they're all the same. They all kind of look the same. They feel the same. You can go on excursions, you can go out and stuff. But I think real traveling is when you get down there and you get into local culture, eating local cafes, meeting local people. That is where it's at, isn't it? Is that kind of what you prefer? You're saying about the hostels and stuff, but being on the ground a bit more. I
think so. So my main thing is when I look for accommodation, I actually go through the list of accommodations and think, right, what's in my budget? And look at the images. What stands out to me? What stands out as being different? What stands out as being part of the culture? What stands out as an experience to me? And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, I'm doing the awkward selfie video thing as we're chatting. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, it is really important, and learning, of course, it's really important. But when it comes to your friends, your family, and people that you meet along the way, like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, that eye rolling. You want to see my holiday pictures, but sharing your experiences in a way that you can encourage other people to go and travel, especially a young girl. And I don't mean to be misogynistic, but there are stereotypes when it comes to certain things, and there are probably behaviours that people might see on travelling that you might not get if you're a young lad. I mean, you might be able to testify towards that. I don't know, but like, say you're timid, you've not really done any travelling, and you want to start. Are you an advocate for that? Are you helping people take that step in the right direction?
Yeah, definitely.
Was my comment really misogynistic, or does it actually make sense?
It does make sense. A lot of people think that it is harder for a young female to solo travel.
I didn't mean it in that way, by the way. I didn't mean, by the way, girls can't do this. I meant like there might be...
No, okay. I know what you meant. But it's quite interesting to find out that around 70% of solo travelers are actually female.
Cool.
Which is really, really nice that it is on the up. And more young women are feeling more comfortable with solo traveling and feeling safer. And I think it is really, really important kind of learning the aspects of safety before you go away. And that's what I'm trying to set up here in Shrewsbury and trying to build that kind of community. But also it's really important to remember that language barriers are a thing. And quite often people will get offended by comments made by someone when English is not their native language.
Yeah.
And I think that is a massive thing. So, for example, going into the Mayan village last year, there were lots of comments by Mayan men that people could take offensively. And I took a step back and I thought about it, and I was like, these people know very few words in English, and they're trying to communicate. Their actions were totally ordinary, but yet some people would be offended by those few words. And I think some people forget that sometimes. They forget that language is totally different and it does throw obstacles in the way. And I think sometimes in the past, people have gone abroad and been so taken aback by what people say to them, they automatically put up this guard and think it's in an offensive way or in a creepy way or things like that. And it isn't always. I mean, sometimes it is. Yeah, of course. But you get that in the UK as well. But I think it's really important just to think about it, think about your situation and just analyse it a little bit more.
Yeah, Yeah, you're right though. You're all right because I've heard things mentioned in Spanish that I'm just like, oh, that wouldn't fly. Like it would be PC in English, especially when it comes to negra. Talking about black women and things like that. Like some of the things you think, oh, that sounds really harsh when they're saying it, but it's part of culture. That's how they speak. Yeah, and you're right. You can't go in there with a broadsword and be like, what did you say? Like you've got to like really sort of understand that. Culture is different. You're absolutely right. So when you talk about what you're trying to do in Shropshire, obviously this is why you're here today.
Yeah.
A big shout out to the guys at Highly Flammable. I think Highly Flammable is doing some amazing things because some of the workshops that are coming out there. By the way, Aaron, I love you to bits, and I'm very, very sorry. We're supposed to be working on a workshop together, but I've been so busy. So like incredibly busy. And that's like a really ignorant thing to say, like I'm busy. You know what I mean? But like the biscuit's booming right now. I want to do a podcast workshop and teach people how to take a podcast from conception right to how to release it and market it. So we've got that coming soon. But like they're looking at loads of different things and offering so much of different aspects of media and life.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you went to Alex McCarthy's thing last night, didn't you? How was that?
I did. It was really good, actually. I met so many young entrepreneurs.
Again, highly flammable.
Yeah, it was really, really informative. Really good.
Did you see Stephen Marshall? Was he there like, oh, you got to face your fears?
I did, yeah.
I love Stephen. He's great. He's got a brand new podcast. What is it? Something to do with gentlemen. I shared the link. This is going to sound really ignorant, but life really does travel at 90 miles an hour here. But Highly Flammable. So how did you come across sort of Highly Flammable and learning that you could set up a thing there?
I actually met them through friends. So friends of mine who run a coffee shop in town. Again, shout out to Hopefully Made. They are friends with Aaron and Alana, and I actually met them through then, and then realised that they have this incredible space that opened not even that long ago, is it? Like a few months back. And I kind of thought, oh, this would be the perfect space to hold these workshops that I'm looking to do and kind of set up this whole travel awareness. And it is such a social space and such a social atmosphere. And I thought this is absolutely perfect for what I want to achieve.
The podcast, by the way, is The Gentleman's Way. I'm sorry, Stephen, I forgot the name of your podcast. I shared it. It's actually really, really good. Make sure you check it out. Are you trying to be an advocate for travel, or are you trying to help people face their fears?
I think in a way both. So I feel like I've met multiple people from all walks of life, all ages, who have always wanted to solo travel.
Yeah.
But I've always felt that something has held them back. And whether that be commitments back home, whether that be kind of their careers, whether it be family, relationships, it could be nerves, it could be mental health. And also realizing that a lot of parents worry about their children going on gap years and not knowing how to kind of look after their health while they're away.
How many people are listening to this podcast now thinking, yeah, if my kid goes on a gap year, he's definitely going to die? That's a joke, by the way. But, you know, I get it. The anxieties of a parent going away. My kid, you know, he's definitely going to want to do it when he's older, you know, so, yeah.
Yeah, and it's becoming more and more popular, especially, like you said, with these incredible videos that are popping up on TikTok and inspiring people to go. And also, I feel like Gen Z as well, they have this very free mind, free way of life, and they don't feel that a career kind of can hold them anywhere. So in a sense, the other generations are being held back by things, but also the younger generation are not being held back to the point where they're not thinking logistically about things before they take that leap. And they end up in situations that could perhaps lead to hundreds of thousands of pounds in medical bills, or it could lead them to having trouble with financing and just looking after their money while they're away.
Yeah.
It could be the simplest of things. And I'm looking to kind of educate people in different ways and focus on a series of different things overall that are really important when traveling.
Very important. And especially coming from someone from yourself, speaking to people from your generation, because I talk a lot about intergenerational communication, because I think it's really important anyway. But the last thing a young generation wants is the generation before them going, well, what you need to do is.
Yeah.
So it's good coming from you, speaking to people your age, or kind of even, I feel like, you know, my generation is definitely learning a lot from the younger generation right now, because especially when it comes to a curriculum, right? Because you're talking about how people throw themselves into situations, take that leap of faith, and then find themselves in a situation where they might, you know, in a boggy spot, but also find themselves in a situation where they might actually feel a bit more suited to how they felt when they were 13 or 14, choosing their options and stuff, you know?
It's all about when time is right as well. And it's kind of getting people to realize that. And also something that is really, really nice to see is that solo traveling is becoming really popular with older generations as well.
Yeah.
They're actually starting to take that leap older. And it's really exciting. And it could just be the simplest of things. So, for example, I spoke to someone that I know a few months ago now, and he was like, I've always wanted to travel on my own, to solo travel, but I met my long-term girlfriend a few years ago, and we've done a bit of traveling together, but I still have that passion of solo traveling, but I don't want to offend her. So how can I find a way around that? And I was like, it's all through communication, really. So that's what I'm looking to talk through within my seminars, is to give people these ideas of how they can beat their problems, how they can beat their situations, and how they can be the best they can be and still achieve their dreams.
I feel like in life there is no focus other than when you're traveling by yourself. There is nothing like it in the world. When you're traveling by yourself and you're responsible for your passport, for your money, for your bag, for your accommodation, for where you're traveling, how you travel, all of these things, there is no focus like it in your life. Do you feel like that's like something everybody should experience at least once in their life?
Only if they want to. But I feel like most people want to, they just haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Or some people, they want to experience it and they think, oh, I'm a bit unsure. My confidence isn't quite there, so I'm going to go with a friend. And it isn't quite the same. Or they book a group trip. That's quite popular. That was really, really popular when I was...
Lads.
Yeah, or like join one of these independent trips run by companies, which is a way of like volunteering abroad or working abroad or just going on a holiday to enjoy yourself. However, some of these companies, they charge up to $3,000. It can sometimes be over that. And it doesn't include quite often your food. It doesn't include your flights. It doesn't include the majority of accommodation. And all of these things come at an extra cost. So what are you paying for? Are you just paying for the laziness? Are you paying for someone to do
easy
it for
option?
you? Yeah. And then they say, okay, so you pay us this much on top of what you've already paid, and it's all sorted for you. It's all laid out in front of you. So I feel like that quite often cons a lot of young people, especially.
Yeah.
And it allows them an easy way of going away on their own. And you're guaranteed to meet people because, say, it's a group trip and you know that there are 50 people on that trip altogether. So you know that you're going to meet 49 other people who are in the same situation as you.
I remember, again, going back to the Peaks Elite Travel thing I covered at St. Mary's. Gosh, when was that? November, October? And talking to people about cruises, because I hate the idea of cruise. Being trapped inside a bean tin with other people just doesn't entertain me at all. You know, imagine being in a ship with 70 Karens. Oh, that's really bad. But you know what I mean. Like, people can be difficult. I think my idea of traveling is to get away from people or to find other nice people. I've been really bad in this podcast, by the way. Really naughty. Verity would be going absolutely insane with me right now, like misogyny and the whole Karen thing. But there are certain things I feel like I would definitely love to do, and certain things I feel like I'd need to force myself to do, but maybe enjoy it. Like the whole cruise thing does not appeal to me at all. But if I try it, I might enjoy it. And it's the same with, if you're sitting there now thinking, I'd love to go to Thailand, But I, like you said, I can't be bothered getting up and traveling and organising it and stuff like that. I feel like if you make that bit of effort, if you push yourself to do that, it might be one of the best decisions you've ever made in your life.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. I don't regret any decisions I've made. I don't regret any of the time or effort that I've put in planning. And it actually becomes easier and easier. And sometimes the people around you can help with that. So another thing that I'm looking to do is to go through itineraries. How do I plan my own itinerary? What is the best way of finding cheap flights? Can I afford the trip that I want to go on? And if not, then what can I afford, or how do I work towards that goal? And there's different ways around it. And I think everyone can actually work towards it if they want to. It's just knowing what to put in place.
So how long is the course that you're putting together then? Is it over a number of weeks?
Yeah, so the initial course is over 6 weeks, and you can book all 6 sessions. They're Friday evenings, 6 till 7, held at Highly Flammable. And you can either book all 6, or you can just hop onto the ones that are relevant to you. So, for example, the very first one is on building confidence and networking. And the overall idea is that we have this social outcome as well, and build this local community of like-minded individuals who are interested in traveling. So still, although we build that confidence, some people may still struggle with it. And it's really good to kind of identify that. And it's all about connecting individuals as well, so they can actually bounce off each other, whether it's bouncing ideas, whether it's planning a trip together. And even going back to your comments on your Facebook, it's also really important to recognise that you can do trips in the UK as well. Perhaps there are places over here that people really want to go to. And again, how do you go about booking that? Because Cornwall, as I know, can be very expensive, so can other parts. And it's finding the best way to do that.
Well, funny you should say that. I'd never been to Cornwall, and we a couple of years ago went to Devon. Dorset, went to Dorset, and then we drove all the way to Land's End. We did Cornwall. It was amazing, and I'm so glad that I did that, because it was always one of those things when I was a kid. I thought, I'll never get down there, you know. And it's crazy to think that you can put as much effort into going somewhere in the UK as you can going to like somewhere in Europe. You know, the logistics are kind of the same. You've got to find accommodation, you've got to find the travel, and you've got to accrue the expenses and write an itinerary. Itineraries are great, by the way. I write itineraries for everything. You should see my I got a to-do app on my phone. That is just... that's Alex McCarthy, by the way, who's digitized my life, helped me digitize my life. It's great. But where's next for you? I mean, you know, is there somewhere where you want to travel that you've got planned?
So I'm looking at possibly going to Morocco over the next few months, and going from Essaouira to Marrakesh within just a short trip.
Marrakesh scared the living daylights out of me. Honestly, we got off a bus, and it's my own fault for not doing the research, I guess. I think research is really important, but I think I learned that the town square in Marrakesh is quite an intense experience. But when there's like, they wait for the buses, and people get off the buses and they just swarm you with monkeys and this, that, and buy this, buy that.
Yeah.
And it's a very good experience, though, because that is life. That is what they said, part of the legitimate part of the world where people live. So you need to go and see it. You know. Yeah,
I think that might be next, but that may or may not happen, because I'm looking at doing a larger trip this October. So the plan is to fly over to Cuba, explore Cuba for a little bit.
Beautiful.
Then go on to Mexico City, because I really fell in love with Mexico and want to explore more of it. And then go and see the monarch butterfly migration, go to Day of the Dead Festival, so I'm going to time it around about that time as well.
Wonderful.
And then go down to Puerto Escondido and go and stay on a surf resort for a little bit. And yeah, that'll be the end of
Did you get to Vietnam, by the way? Have you done that yet?
I haven't, no. So
is that the ultimate goal still? Or has it changed? The goalposts have moved.
The goalposts have very much moved. I feel like Southeast Asia was very, very popular, and still perhaps is. And a lot of people go there and don't fully appreciate it and kind of almost, I wouldn't say ruin the experience for people who haven't been, but it's just been knocked back like a lot. I'm sure I will get around to visiting there at some point, but it isn't my priority at all. Every year I'm finding new places that are kind of moving up the list rapidly to the point where I never thought I'd be interested in going to South Korea, but I think next year that's going to be on the list. So I'm
still trying to find a way to get to Vermont. My co-host from my other show, the Al and Tom of it all, by the way, brand new podcast, 3 episodes, and we get a little bit naughty on that one. But he's in Vermont, and we worked together for years, and he's the closest guy I've got in the world that lives a million miles away. I've never even met. So I'd love to go and go to New England, but America's just expensive at the moment. It's hard to fathom or justify that money. Sorry, Mr. Tom Bruno, but you're expensive at the moment. When you're talking about the courses, the 6-week thing, who are you expecting to see? Have you had a bit of feedback yet? Have people sort of been asking you questions? Are you looking forward to seeing people of all sort of generations and ages?
Yeah, so it's open to 16 plus because I thought I don't want to start it at 18 because like some students may want to start planning a gap year at the age of 16. Yeah. So it's really, really important to get those ideas in early, but there is no age limit on it as well. Like I said, solo travel is becoming more and more popular with the older generation. So I just think that it's really important that it's open to that variety of age groups. And I think it would be really interesting to gauge how different aged people connect with each other as well.
I think you'd be pleasantly surprised, actually.
Yeah, I think I would. And I feel like almost the priorities of one age group would be very different to the priorities of another. And people would then bounce off each other and learn a lot from each other's kind of...
I've also had some pleasant experiences working with people from older and younger generations. And one of those experiences is definitely Shrewsbury Prison. My prison, the people I worked with, my prison family, I love them to bits. I couldn't do it anymore because I was doing the podcast, I was doing the radio, I was doing my job, I was doing this, that, and the other. I was so like incredibly busy. I couldn't fit it in and I was letting people down. But I love you guys to bits. And I'd be working with people that are much more experienced than I am. And younger people as well, which I'll be learning from. And it's just a great time. I think you need to kind of throw yourself into situations like that, not to sound too preachy and tell you guys what to do, but I feel like you can learn a lot from the other generations if you kind of immerse yourself within them. If that makes sense.
You really, really can. And I'm at the stage of life now where I'm realizing that I feel like older people perhaps had it right. They live a super chilled life and prioritize things like cream teas. And why wouldn't I prioritize that?
Yeah, absolutely. You need to. I feel like my generation, the millennials, I think we kind of both torture ourselves emotionally and physically as well. And especially when it comes to work, I feel like we're trying to prove ourselves in such a weird way. So look how hard I can work. Whoosh, value me. It's such a weird aesthetic, a weird way of thinking. And I feel like getting out there and traveling and being a little bit selfish as well is really important.
See, I'm right on the verge of the young millennial. Yeah. So I'm not quite Gen Z. So it's really interesting for me seeing how these younger people are kind of moving on with their life, having come from such a career-focused generation. Like you have to do one thing, you have to settle for that, you have to just earn your living, and that's that. It's kind of this whole new way of looking at it, which I've always had in a way. So I think after the initial series of this course that I'm going to run, I'm looking at doing a one-off of how you can travel and work at the same time. So how can you have that stability back home and still organize traveling to these places? Because there are so many people who would be worried about leaving a job. They wouldn't want to work while they're away. Like, why would you want to do that? It's your time to relax. So as much as people doing a gap year would want to work and earn while they're away, there are other people who have just your normal 9 to 5 and still want to be able to experience that. And there are ways around it. There are ways that you can work a normal job and you can still explore the world.
Especially if you work in media or somewhere where, big shout out. I won't mention her name, I haven't asked permission, but I got a friend who works with a laptop and very hard worker, but she can work in Malta, she can work in Italy, she can go here, she take a laptop and crack on with work and earn money while she's traveling or while she's somewhere else, which is a great skill to learn.
Yeah, like remote work is becoming so popular now, but I think it's also important to kind of identify that it is still possible to travel the world while doing static work as well.
Yeah.
Even if you can't work remotely, you don't cut that kind of cord. Don't stop your dreams and decide to not go anywhere and not look forward to any trips or kind of go on those cruises, go on those all-inclusives because it's easy. You can still achieve the same as anyone else. Okay, it might be over a longer period of time, but say most people who take a gap year, they will go away for a year, they'll come back, and that will be the only big trip that they go on quite often. Or people who go away and live a very nomadic life, they will kind of live on the bare bones and they will live in very basic accommodation. They will save a lot of money on the food that they eat, on the experiences that they take part in around the world. And it is possible to still travel and have a base, essentially. Yeah. So I think that's really, really useful to explain to people as well and teach them how to do that.
I think it's really interesting what you're doing. And I'll be really interested to see sort of the feedback you get after you've done it and the people that you've helped. Because I think it's just an amazing journey, especially if you've got someone teetering on the edge and they're kind of like, oh, I don't know if to do this or not. And then maybe your course just kind of gives them that boost they needed. And your course is responsible for them traveling around the world. How amazing would that be?
I mean, that's the idea, to absolutely inspire people and build that confidence and just get them out there and doing what they want to do. And also a really important part of it is that social community side of things. And I think after the course, I'm going to arrange social events around town, around different places within Shropshire. And these will be very relaxed sessions. I'm going to call them campfire sessions, because it is all to do with about sharing those experiences. And just like you put the question out there to your Facebook following, I think it's really important to share those stories, good and bad, and share what you've learned as an individual and talk through it and talk about it. And I think that's really important to get that community going and get people together. So even people that have travelled quite a lot and they feel that the seminars aren't for them and they've already experienced things that they want to experience, they can come along to the socials and inspire other travellers to do the same, or to perhaps do it in a different way and save that kind of disadvantaged travel and things like that.
I love nothing more than to sit around with my friends and talk about our travel stories, because I feel like talking about these things with people that have travelled, they kind of get a better reception. Yeah, I've done some dumb stuff abroad. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I could sit and talk about that on a campfire session. It's just like, that sounds like the perfect.
Yeah.
I had this idea for there's log cabins, Nestcliff, I think it is. I've forgotten the name of them. I messaged them. I found them a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh my God, this would be perfect. Just to like give us a log cabin for a day, and we can record 4 or 5 cabin sessions at such and such, get a fire, bring a guest every couple of hours or every hour. We'll get someone cooking food, get some cameras, and just sit and have those kind of mellow, relaxed conversations. Because I feel like, especially in front of a campfire, that kind of brings people out a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think the startup idea would be to kind of position it at bars, kind of relaxed.
I know what you mean. Yeah, the idea. Yeah.
But then again, the whole idea of campfire sessions is that in the future it could kind of prospectively turn into an actual campfire session. It could be a weekend trip away to the beach somewhere. It could be a hike up a mountain, and it is all about getting that community
like an
together.
Inspirational networking.
Yeah.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. That sounds great. I love it. Right, what we're going to do is towards the end of this, one, I want you to tell people where they can follow you and find you and your travels. So let's do that. And then sorry, I worded that really, really weird. I've not been on form at all. I'm obviously on Missing Verity. I need her back for sure. But yeah, tell people where they can follow you, and then we'll get onto the course and how they can book a ticket.
Yeah, so it's mainly social media based. I don't have a website up and running yet, but it's solo travel seminars on Instagram and Facebook. So I'm looking at posting lots of content about the events as they happen as well. And it just outlines each event week by week and what we're talking about. And also some fun facts about travel itself and things that you might be worried about, even if you can't make it to any of the events. It's quite useful just to follow and to read through a lot of the fact-based things.
Wonderful. Well, I think you're fascinating. I think you're brave, super brave for going out, not only doing what you're doing, but helping others to do that too. Because like you said, a lot of people, I've known a lot of people going on like a gap year. And like you said, that's like the trip they think of fondly as one of those rare opportunities where they got to go and actually travel. So the fact that you're trying to find a sustainable way of doing that is really, really important.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that, giving people that independence. Yeah. Right, guys, make sure you, as well, by the way, go onto Instagram, go onto Facebook, look for Highly Flammable Studios. Aaron Child is one of my, I'll say he's a mentor. He's a good friend. He teaches me an awful lot. He's definitely one of my highest regarded peers. So give them a follow. The studio there, you can hire it out for your own workshop purposes. There are lots of workshops going on there. I've been to so many amazing events, and you definitely need to check them out, because I think what they're doing for media, if you want to record a podcast there, they've got a podcast studio, and there's so much going on there. So Highly Flammable Studios. Right, I'm running out of oxygen and words and things, and but this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for chatting to me today.
And just you book the tickets onto the seminars just by messaging on social media. So just drop us a DM to message about any interest.
Send us a link.
Yeah.
And we'll get it on our Facebook as well. So
amazing.
Go into Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast Facebook page as well. And you can book it there too. I'm pretty sure Highly Flammable will have there a link as well. So there's a number of places there you can book a ticket.
Yeah, definitely. And if you book onto all 6 weeks, then you get a little sneaky discount and you get a free travel gift as well.
Nice.
Which is exciting.
Wonderful. Well, I'm sorry for the scattiness of this podcast. It's post night shift. I don't usually do one on a Wednesday, but because of you very kindly moved the podcast from last week to this week, I had to throw it on today, but this has been really, really cool. Thank you so much for chatting to me. And listeners, thank you so much for listening to the show. If you're listening to the podcast for the first time, you can follow the Shrewsbury Biscuit on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're also on TikTok. For an audio-only show, we do very well visually, and we do get on a lot of travels. Timmy today has been at the Flax Mill for Lovely Land's. This is going to go out a couple of weeks after, but Lovely Land's Easter egg trail that they had going on there. I was meant to go, but I finished the night shift this morning. And I was like, I can't go. I'm too tired. So Timmy went with my wife, and he went in front of camera and did his mini biscuit thing. So there's lots going on with us at the moment. So make sure you give us a follow. Rhian, thank you so much for chatting to us.
Thank you.
And this has been great. Right, peace out. So there we go. That was a fantastic episode with Rhian. I hope you enjoyed that. Now, before we end things, I've got a few things I want to talk to you guys about. One of them is I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody that nominated me for the Mayor's Award, which we went to as I record this last week. It was a great evening. I saw some wonderful people. I got accidentally a little bit tipsy because I don't drink alcohol anymore, not really, and I had a couple of glasses of wine and I was like, oh, that's strong. I don't know if that's ever happened to you. But it was a great evening, and we won we won so the way it works with the Mayor's Award, everybody gets nominated and wins a prize for being nominated, but then there's an overall winner of your category. We didn't win the overall winner, but we got the recognition there for our community award. So thank you so much to everybody that nominated us. Thank you so much to Shrewsbury Council as well, and to our mayor, Elizabeth Roberts, as well, for taking the time out to offer us a bit of a congratulations, because that was fantastic. I've got a couple of events I want to tell you guys about. As you're hearing this on Monday the 24th of March, this weekend coming up, there's an event that we're going to be taking part in. I'm going to have a studio there for 2 days. And that's Drawn. I've been mentioning it on podcasts quite a bit. Drawn is a coming together of artists from all around Shropshire and a little bit further as well, at the Flax Mill. And it's on the 29th and the 30th. And you can turn up. You can look at artists as they're working. You can buy artists' work. You can get inspired. There'll be workshops for the kids, and we'll have a little studio there as well. So Drawn is fantastic. They've also got a new Facebook page, so if you just type in Drawn and look for the beautiful orange logo, give them a follow on Facebook to stay up to date with the news there. And also, we're going to be at an evening with the Dirty Rockin' Scoundrels on the 13th of May at Shrewsbury High School. It's an 18-plus event, but it's featuring one of the Midlands' best bands. We love these guys so much. We've seen them so much. And if you've been to an event that features the Dirty Rockin' Scoundrels, you'll know for yourself. If you've never been there, trust me, you're going to want to be there. This is an intimate evening where we will be spending time with just the Dirty Rockin' Scoundrels. There's going to be music. There's going to be a Q&A hosted by moi, and it's going to be fantastic. And this is all in aid of raising money for Kate Vaughan. She did the London Marathon, as I mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, but she's raising money for Whiz Kids, and this is just to add on to that, all that money she's raised for them. So the tickets are £10, which is really cheap, and I've heard the bar is reasonable too. So, A, one of the best bands in the Midlands. B, a cheap evening, tickets, and also a reasonable bar. And also, the Shrewsbury Biscuit's going to be there. So that's an evening with the Dirty Rockin' Scoundrels. Make sure you check those out, guys. And I'll catch you guys on the next podcast. I'm going to go because it's been a long one. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much for supporting us. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.